Hi everyone, I'm Dave. I produce the podcast. When I started this, really I just wanted to talk to a bunch of ex-Chesterfield players, just because I'm a supporter. But I also wanted to find out about their personal stories, really, of being players at the club. And when I started the podcast, one name kept cropping up from a few supporters that were messaging me, and that was when you're going to get David Reeves on. And that's funny, really, because probably the first player I remember joining in with a chant to was David Reeves, shouting Reevesy in the Cop. So he was always really high on the list. So I heard that he was in sports management now, so I found his company and just sent an off-the-cuff email, really. And he came back within about 2 minutes saying, yeah, I'd love to talk about my time at Chesterfield. I loved it there. So I don't think this episode will disappoint. He joined us in 1997. He'd had really successful spells at Carlisle and Bolton, and joined us from Preston. Hit the ground running straight away, scoring a few goals in his first couple of games, and became a real cult figure, really, at Chesterfield. He spoke really well about scoring goals, including an amazing goal where he flicked up a free kick and volleyed it in, which we have a good giggle about. But he also talked about some of the turbulent times at the club as well, under Darren Brown, when he came in and really ripped the club apart, and leaving the club at that time, going to Oldham, and then coming back to Chesterfield again, where he finished his career. He was really honest as well about how his career at Chesterfield ended as well, which maybe puts a few rumours straight. He's just a really lovely, honest chap. The first striker we've had on the podcast, and it seemed really apt that it was David Reeves that was the first striker we had on. So I hope you all enjoy the podcast. As always, we are at Spire Legends on Twitter, and we've got a Facebook page as well, Legends of the Spire. So do get in touch and tell us who you'd like to see next. Enjoy the episode.
Reeves, if they can get Ryan Williams into the game a little more to run at the defenders, that could be an option, but it's David Reeves running at the defenders at the moment, and Reeves, what a goal with David Reeves, marvellous stuff from him, the undisputed top scorer now with 3 goals this season. He picked the ball up, ran the defence, and what a cracking finish from Chesterfield's number 9.
Yeah, so I suppose with all of these kind of chats, I always start at the same place in terms of what position you were playing when you first started, because it seems that everyone that I've spoken to, even Steve Ogrizovic, Tom Curtis last week when I spoke to him, everyone was striker when they started off. So it'd be really weird if you didn't start off as a striker when you started playing.
No, I did. I started off as a striker.
Yeah. What kind of player were you if you could describe yourself as a striker, what kind of style were you?
Probably hard working, nick some goals, I suppose. I think then never give up. Not particularly quick, but not slow. So obviously it's the game's moved on a lot since I played. So it's a lot more technical now. I suppose I wasn't the most technical player. Probably Tom Curtis will tell you that, and Marcus Hebden. But no, you're just a hard-working striker who nicked a couple of goals, I'd say.
Yeah, everyone seems to be like 6'5" nowadays, don't they? Strikers that are up front, they're all massive and quick, and
they should be basketball players, sorry, shouldn't they?
Yeah. So where did it start for you? Because you can obviously tell from your accent you're not from you didn't grow up around Sheffield, but you started at Wednesday, didn't you? So how did it kind of start for you?
Yeah, in the professional game, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as like a kid playing and then getting that professional contract.
Yeah, but when we grew up, I grew up. I had a twin brother, Alan, as well, and we were brought up in Birkenhead, in Merseyside. So it wasn't the most prestigious places to be brought up in, but that's where you were born, and and it was great. All it was, we lived and drink and football. That was all we did. We lived and breathed it, and it was there was basically that's all that we were looking forward to. Even when school came in, we couldn't wait to get out of school to go and play for the school team. As I said, it was obviously from Liverpool and Everton, and there was Tranmere Rovers was our local club. That was it was always going to watch them game, Liverpool more than Everton. And I think the Tranmere Rovers one, we used to support them as well when I was from about 12 to about 15 maybe. And it was just always a big, massive park, Birkenhead Park. And you literally must have been about 20 aside every Sunday for the lads that just basically organised it ourselves. You coach down as the goals, and in one ball, the ball got up the tree. You had a drink, but while one of the lads got it out the tree. So it was that exactly how it was. And then from just playing for the local teams with your friends in the Sunday league teams. We were lucky enough. I went to a school called Birkenhead High School, and we never lost a game in our final 2 years. And then, bearing in mind, you've got all the Liverpool teams who had so many players then who went on to be professional footballers. It was a great achievement. So we knew there was a few of us that were decent footballers at that time. Like I'm talking, we were 14 years old, 15 years old. So it was always football. And then I went on to play for a team called Heswell in the West Cheshire League, just in an amateur league. And then a Sheff Wednesday fan came to watch that game. A Sheff Wednesday scout called Harry, bless him. I think he was about 80 odd at that time in 1986. So obviously he won't be with us now. Well, at least I don't think he will be. And he went to watch a player who played for us called Ian Wone, who used to play for Nottingham Forest, who's now assistant manager at Burnley. And on that game, I think I touched the ball 4 times and scored 4 goals. And he came up to me at the end and said, would you like a trial at Sheff Wednesday? And then literally, I'm like, I thought it was their game. I thought Jeremy Beadle was going to jump out and say, no. And anyway, I told all my family and my friends, and he still didn't believe me until he actually went out the door and went to Sheffield. And my Uncle Dave took me. And it went on from there. They give me it was like a massive, it was a different world from where I'd come from. And it was, I don't know, I think I just took the chance. They give me a 2-year contract after 3 days of training. So I just went in and I was myself. And it went from there really. It was very lucky because, I think everyone who knows me knows this story. Literally like a week before this scout came to watch me, I was a YTS paint and decorator getting £26.50 a week. And literally like got the sack a week before the trial for painting, for throwing I literally threw a brush with white gloss on at a black cat because it kept messing me rail up, my stair rail I was painting. So the lady whose house it was basically got me sacked. So, but that cat was, I reckon it was lucky for me at that time. So not that I don't like cats. It was, I like cats. So cat lovers out there, but it was, it was a strange couple of weeks in that part of my life.
Yeah.
So and then it went on from there. Obviously, I got a 2-year contract at Sheff Wednesday, and that was the start.
Yeah, and then you did play a few games, didn't you, for Wednesday?
Yeah, I think I played about 20 appearances. I started 10, I think, scoring 3 goals, which I loved it. I was there for 3 years. When I went in, I got in my first season for the intermediate team, which was the youth team at the time, and the reserves. I think I got about 60 odd goals. So it was unprecedented. It was like I was just scoring every game I played. I was scoring 2s and 3s and in reserves as well as the youth team. I was just scoring goals. I wasn't, as I said, technically not brilliant, but I was just scoring goals, and it was all about, and I didn't think I'd get my chance at Sheff Wednesday, but I did, and I took it. It was I loved it. My only regret is I should have stayed at Sheff Wednesday instead of going to Bolton. Although I loved my time at Bolton, I wouldn't change my time at Bolton, but because the Premier League came in a year later at Sheff Wednesday, but who was to know that, So
yeah, I suppose things could have been different if you'd have stayed there instead.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have. But as I said, I love my time at Bolton every minute of it.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, and you scored. You kind of hit the ground running, didn't you, at Bolton? You got like what, nearly 50 goals in kind of what 130 odd appearances, something like that.
Yeah, I did. I loved it at Bolton. It was great. It's a fantastic club. And the reason what took me to Bolton was the manager at that time, Phil Neal, because he was a Liverpool legend and I was a Liverpool fan. And I literally like never, because I didn't really. I suppose I only had my uncle John, because my dad left to live in Australia when me and my twin brother were 6 months old. So we didn't really have a mentor or anyone guiding us. So it was my granddad and my uncle really. My granddad was ill, but my uncle John sort of helped me out, and I didn't really. I think I just jumped into it. I just went. I'm going to go, because Big Ron offered me a 3-year deal at Wednesday, and Phil Neal offered me a 3-year deal at Bolton. And it wasn't about the money; it was the same money. So for some reason, I decided to go and play for Bolton instead of maybe battling it out and seeing how my career could have taken a different turn at Sheff Wednesday. But like that was my only half regret in football. Maybe I should have stayed at Sheff Wednesday, but then I wouldn't have gone to Bolton.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I loved. It was a great club.
And what was it like? Were you a bit kind of starstruck then when you first met Phil Neal and you were kind of having a chat about signing?
Yeah, it was. We met him. Met him at a restaurant in Heswell. He came with Phil Garside at the time. He was a director, God rest his soul. Obviously, Phil's not with us anymore. So it was literally like, yeah, it was starstruck. And then I went away, and my girlfriend at the time who I was living with, we went to Greece, and I said, I'm going to go and decide on a 2-week holiday in Greece which way I'm going to go. I don't think I really thought it through, to be honest. I think what the big thing that made me decide, I think, was because of the promise of first team football at Bolton, rather than the uncertainty of what would happen at Sheff Wednesday. But the Sheff Wednesday scenario was, I didn't know the Premier League was around the corner. If I knew that, I probably would have had another deal at Sheff Wednesday. But I didn't think 2 hours there, 2 hours back in the car every day, because I've stayed in Sheffield all these years, all the clubs I've been at. I didn't take that into account, although I got used to it. That was part of my job. That was the hardest part of it, the travelling. The easiest part was playing football and training with the lads, because it's not a job, is it? Really, let's be honest. You're in a privileged position. So it was. I didn't see that. I didn't really look at that, thinking, well, I'm going to have to be doing like thousands and thousands of miles a year to Sheff Wednesday, 15 minutes down the road from where I live. So, but anyway, I took that decision, and I, me and Tony Philliskirk, we set up a really good relationship, playing up front together, and we had 3 good seasons, really good seasons.
Yeah, and how do you kind of find your feet as a striker when you kind of become a regular in a team? Does it just kind of take time for you to kind of get into the groove a bit when you're just starting off and becoming a regular?
I think so. I think it, as I said, it's changed, David. It's changed over the years drastically, because when I played, like when I went to Bolton, they signed me to play, and there's no guarantees you're going to do well, or you're going to hit the ground running. But at that time, clubs, they couldn't buy 2, 3, 4 strikers. They bought 1 or 2, and they had a young lad coming up, so you had to. It wasn't like, obviously Phil Neal did his homework. He watched me play for Sheff Wednesday reserves, and I'd been on loan to Burnley and done well, and Scunthorpe and done well and scored in them for them 2 teams as well. So he wasn't going in blind signing me, but it was a free transfer, and I think it was good business from his point of view, and my point of view. Looking back now, but like I said, it's not like it is now, where if you don't score for a couple of games, you're going to be left out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like, you rotate, or you have a rest. So you're actually, you know what, you've missed a couple of sitters, Reeves. You're still playing next week. So I think to have that confidence from the manager's point of view was good, and it was great for us right till the end of Phil's career at Bolton. Phil's tender as manager. So then it got a little bit different, but yeah, at that time it was great knowing that you were going to play. There's nothing better than playing football, is there? I went to Notts County it was literally deadline day, and after Phil Neal had gone, Bruce Rioch had took over, and I played for Bruce quite a lot, and I did well for him, but I don't think I was his ideal striker. So obviously Andy Walker was there, and then we signed John McGinley. So it was like, and this is the thing, you see, it's like if he had us two, and then he decided to push me out the door, because, well, who else are you going to play? Do you know what I mean? So you didn't have big squads in them days. Anyway, so they were in League 3 as it is now, third division. So obviously League 2 as it is now. League 1 as it is now. And Notts County were in the Championship as it is now. So League Division 1. So it was like a great move for me because it was closer to Sheffield. And I signed a 3-year deal there. But Notts County, it was a short time. I actually scored we had to win the last game against Sunderland to stay up that year. And I scored the first goal, and we stayed up. We beat them 3-0. And it was a great result. But that was the end of my Notts County adventure. It was probably, and I don't mind saying it, it was probably as a club and being in a dressing room, my worst club I played for, and my worst. It was the worst dressing room. Don't know why. Maybe there was a few big time Charlies there who thought there was something they weren't. They probably knew who they were. They know at that time, but I didn't enjoy it. That's all. There was some really good lads there, like there is. But yeah, all the clubs I had, all the years I played, probably Notts County was my least enjoyable time.
Do you start kind of thinking about a bit of a way out then if you're at a club and you're just not really enjoying it?
Well, it was a funny one because like I'd had a year there, and then the chairman pulled me in, literally, and just said, "Look, Carlisle want you," and I was in and out of the team at that time, and I'm like, Carlisle? We don't even know where Carlisle is. Where is Carlisle? And I had a bit of a barney with the chairman at the time, Derek Pavers, because I think because I had a few sign-on fees owed. It's like, well, if you go, you're not going to be getting sign-on fees. So I said, I'm not going then. I said, well, I'm not asking to leave. It's like, I need to. Anyway, we come to an agreement against what he wanted, but he wanted me out the door. Then I went to speak to Mick Wadsworth and Michael Knighton, who was the chairman. Met them in Huddersfield, and to be fair, they both sold it to me straight away. And it was a weird one again because I'm like, literally, they were in the 4th division, and they were like, I think they were 3rd from bottom, but their plan and their blueprint for Carlisle, what they wanted to do with it, they sold it to me. I really took to Mick, and to Mick Wadsworth as a manager, as a man. Michael Knighton I took to as well, although a lot of people, he's an acquired taste. But I don't think till I went up there, didn't realise how far away it was.
Yeah.
Because I live with my girlfriend in Sheffield, and we weren't moving. So, and then the thing with Mick lived in Pontefract as well, down that way. So it was everyone used to travel because obviously Carlisle, to get the players up there, everyone had to travel. So we had plenty of time off. But I remember the first time Michael Knighton drove me up in his car, he literally fell asleep at the wheel and hit us and just literally clipped the central reservation, which you can imagine me. I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on? I'm shouting, chairman. So he woke up luckily just in time. And he had to stop off and he had to get some fresh air and a cup of coffee at the service station. And I'm thinking, I don't think I'll be coming up with this chauffeur anymore. You know what I mean? But yeah, Carlisle, I didn't realise how big a club it was at that time, being 3rd from bottom in the 4th division, having players there who probably weren't good enough, having the fan base is unbelievable. The fans at Carlisle were amazing. And I think that was always so that, like, 3.5 hours to get there, 3.5 hours to get back. It was like, when you travel up and down, we stayed up a lot, but I could write a book on my 3 years at Carlisle. There'd be a few divorces in that book, I reckon, but I could write a book. It wasn't like literally. It was the football was when the football came out and we're training, everything's got to be spot on because Mick Wadsworth wouldn't have it any other way. You know, he's professional. He was so precise in what he did with Mervyn Days as number 2. But once, you know, we worked hard. Every single lad I love who played for them. It was like a family. And you know, don't get me wrong, we got in the playoffs that year. We were third from bottom, which was unbelievable. We lost to Wickham in the semi-final, but the year later we went to Wembley and won the league easily, and that was one of the best years I've had as a footballer. But then the next year we got relegated. But it was a bit bittersweet moment. But yeah, Carlisle was some great times with Carlisle.
Although Dean Walling was widely credited with the score, the camera behind the goal showed it was David Reeves who chested the ball home. The goal that clinched the 3rd Division Championship.
Well, I chested it in, so, you know, I was due a goal, so it's nice to get, you know, the one that won the championship for us, so, you know, really pleased with it.
Mick, many congratulations. How was that for you today?
Well, it was nervous and tense, but you know, everything that we've done all season's come to fruition today, and it's a championship which is a very worthy one for this group of players and for this group of spectators.
A lot of fans, when I said I was talking to you, said that I had to mention the goals that you scored for Carlisle against Chesterfield that then condemned us to a playoff meeting with Mansfield that then turned out rosy for us because it was a great old time. But do you remember those?
Can't remember them goals, Dave. No, can't remember. No, I think, yeah, listen, I think obviously I didn't know at that time that I was going to be signing for Chesterfield a few years later. But it was that we'd won the league on the Saturday and I scored against Colchester away. So we all, you know, there was like 300 Carlisle fans travelling down to Colchester from Carlisle. It's like 7 hours, wherever it is. And then we won the league. We won 1-0. Literally went in off my shoulder, the goal, and we won the league. And it was brilliant. So the manager, Mick Wadsworth, like literally said was resting 7 players from that team for the Chesterfield game. So it was all set up for a Chesterfield win. He literally said to me, because we only had 1 game left on the Saturday of the season. He said, "Reevesy, do you want to rest?" And I went, "I'm not having the rest. You know, I had 18 league goals, and I got a bonus for 20 league goals, and I wanted to try. I mean, there was 2 games left. Thinking I want to try and score me 2 goals, and it was literally like we had Tony Elliott in goal who hadn't played the game all season, who were it just happened to have one of the best goalkeeping performances I've ever seen at any level on that night. You've got Kevin Davis missing sitters, and then you've got I think we literally had 2-3 efforts on goal, and it was so early in. And when we got there, we couldn't believe the crowds. Obviously, we knew that they had to win to get up, and we, you know, people on the houses, on the roofs of the houses, watching the game, and you know, it was like we'd already won. I remember Warren Aspinall who played for us, he was still drunk from the Saturday before. So it was like, there's no way we're going to get battered tonight here. Anyways, like when I remember my goals, but it was probably one of the best goals I scored that season. First goal, I can't remember who I run behind. Did Sean Dyche play in that game?
I don't know.
Nicky Law.
Yeah, probably.
That's when Nicky Law. Literally, I remember running behind, and I just hit it on the volley, and it's just dipped in the top corner of the keeper. And then I literally run if you watch me, if anyone watches that game, when I scored that goal, I've run to the director's box at Chesterfield, and I was doing that to Michael Knighton, basically, and he's shaking his head like that, and then obviously the second goal, it was a really good header from a free kick, I think, wasn't it? Or a corner, I can't remember, because they equalised. They equalised, didn't they?
Yeah.
1-1. Did Kevin Davis score? Was it? I can't remember. I can't remember who scored for them. But it was, yeah. And then I scored again, and I thought, well, you know, we might get a draw out of it because they're definitely going to score. And then obviously they got a penalty, didn't they? And Tony Elliott saved the penalty, didn't he? And it was like when we won, we celebrated like we just won the league again. It was, it was that, and that was what that team was about. It was like literally made 7 changes from the team on Saturday that we just won the league, and it paid off. But unknowingly to us, like Chesterfield get Mansfield in the final. Did you get them in the semi-final or final?
Yeah. In the
semi, and you beat them in the semi, didn't you? So so that I always say to the Chelsea fans, yeah, I got you what you wanted really that year. Because if you would have had the choice, you wouldn't have wanted to go straight up anyway, would you? You'd want to get in the playoffs and beat Mansfield twice, and then get up in the playoff final.
Yeah, and did you get and you got what you wanted as well? Did you get your 20 goals?
I got my second goal. That was the header, and I've literally run. And I literally run to the director's box again, and the chairman's just clapping me. And in the dressing room, he said to Mick Woods, "Mick, you should never have played Reevesy tonight."
Second place, Chesterfield could well have been an anticlimax, with 6 changes from the players who were on duty at Colchester. No fewer than 7 homegrown Cumbrians were in Mick Wadsworth's selection. The home side, unbeaten in 21 matches and needing a win to hang on to the second automatic promotion place, were rocked by David Reeves' spectacular opener. Chesterfield came back to equalise, but Reeves again put United in front. It was Tony Elliott, though, who was to emerge as the star man. With first choice Tony Craig rested, the patient Elliott seized this rare chance of first-team action, helping his side to one of their most satisfying wins of the season.
Chances have been few and far between for myself, so I just went out with the attitude that I weren't going to be beat. Just had the game of my life. I'm just glad I did it in the end. I'm so tired, it's unbelievable. And
Tony Elliott came in for, I think, only his 3rd start of the year, and had one of those games every goalkeeper dreams about, where everything goes right, even to the last 10 minutes where he saved a penalty. It just reinforced, sort of the feeling about the place that we're true champions. We can play in lots of different styles to suit the occasion, and we're good enough to beat anybody in this league.
And then the ironic thing, David, was on the Saturday, the last game of the season, we got the trophy before the game, which I've never known. And it was red hot, and we were playing Lincoln, who were on the beach already. We played all our main squad. We played everybody, every player who played in all that season who'd been regulars, and we got beat 3-0. We were horrific. We're running around the pitch. There's like 14,000 fans there at Brunton Park, and we literally got the trophy before the game, which did this really, because I think all the emotion and all our adrenaline had gone. It's like, yeah. And then we got battered. It could have been 10. We were that bad. But you know what? No one cared. It did. I don't suppose it would have been nice to win the last game.
Sign off for the win,
but,
yeah.
I think the actual club got it wrong. Whoever made that decision to get the trophy before the game, not good.
Was there like a pressure of a price tag when you go for quite a bit of money?
I think, listen, at that time, it was like 300 grand, not a lot of money or whatever. I think it was 300 grand plus whatever Tony Loma was worth. But it was another one, because I was a regular for 3 years at Preston. And then I got left out. I got left out in one game. And because I loved it at Preston. It was good. Preston's a really good club at that time. Manager was a bit, we've got to be careful what word they choose here. It was a bit lively. Gary Peters, but he was good. He go with me. He was good with me. But I got left out of one game, and then literally that Friday, he's pulled me after training and said, "Reevesy, by the way, Chesterfield want you." And I'm like, "Well, I've only been left out of one game. I've played for 3 years." You know what I mean? It was like, right, that's it. Your time's done. That's what football. That's what it is. That's what football is. So it's not the same now. I wouldn't have thought. But yeah, it was. I just thought. I said, "Oh right, okay." And then anyway, so that was this Friday. So on the Tuesday, I was at a game. I was at the Chesterfield game. I can't remember if they were playing Gillingham or someone on a Tuesday night. And I literally went and spoke to him, myself, John Duncan, and the chairman, God rest his soul, what's he called? My mate's gone now. Anyway, it'll come back to me. And it was just done so quick, and it was, you know, I'm thinking, right, Chesterfield, it's on my doorstep for a start. I haven't got to travel even further from Bolton. It's even further, another 20 minutes past Bolton. Norton Lea, sorry, I'm going to forget Norton. Yeah. And it was like, you know, and it nearly didn't happen, you know. It very nearly didn't happen, the Chesterfield one.
How come?
So obviously at the time, you know, there was no way. I never had an agent. I used to do the lads' contracts. The lads used to get me in to go and do their contracts. Honestly, like Ian Brecken and people like that, it was funny. But I'd gone in and I'd agreed the deal with John Duncan in the boardroom, in that old decrepit boardroom that looked like it was a
paneling.
With the paneling. So I'd gone out, done something, come back in, and then Norton came and I met Norton Lea. This David Chairman, he said, yeah. So I looked at the contract and it was wrong. It wasn't what we agreed. It was something else. It was like, and anyway, I went, so I said, excuse me, Chairman. I went, it's not right. I said, me and John didn't agree this. And then Norton, God rest his soul, just stood up, slammed his case shut and said, nobody calls me a liar in my own boardroom. And obviously at this point, I'm like thinking, Jeremy Beadley again. See someone going to jump out and say, what's up? So John's gone. John's tried to smooth it over. Hey, chairman. You know, he's like, it'll be fine. So I said, he said, no, John, it's not. I'm not being called. I said, I'm not calling you a liar, chairman. I said, me and John have just agreed this. Anyway, we weren't having it. So I just said, John, I'm going. So I'm on the dual carriageway back to Sheffield. And honestly, and my phone goes, it was a Chesterfield number, and it was Norton Lea. And he said, David, I apologise. Can you turn back, please? Can you come back? Let's start again. So I'd literally turned round, gone round to Sheffield, come back to the roundabout, gone back to the... And he said, I'm sorry, David. And to be fair to him, you know, Norton held his hand up and he just blamed John Duncan. He said, John's fault. But it was, so it was very, very nearly never happened. Very nearly. Because I'm like, I'm not having this. I can't play for people who don't know what they're talking about. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I turned around because it was, I loved it at Chesterfield. All the lads were fantastic. You know, there wasn't one bad egg. You know, you play football and you go to so many dressing rooms, and the Chelsea dressing room was one of the best. And it was, you know, even the lads who weren't playing, they were part of the squad. And, you know, even when you should have been playing and you never played, it wasn't like they split the dummy out. It was, everyone was part of it. You know, John Duncan and Kevin Randall, bless him. They had their own way of doing things. At that time, I believe it was the right way, and they did the best with what they had in the building. You know, they were very successful in what they did. Very different than what other people did, but that's what made them. That's what made them such good coaches, good people. You know, we could tell you some stories. The lads could tell you some stories about, you know, moving the dog poo off the parks before we train. You know, but that's kept us grounded, really. You know, now with all the glitz and glamour of even the Pro Act or whatever they call it now, you know, they're spoiled for what they had from what we had. Yeah. You know, but it was, we knew, you know, every single player would say that we haven't got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go and work on a building site. Well, we didn't at that time. We might have to do now, but you know, you're a footballer, and it comes and goes so quick. You don't realise how fast your career goes, and you have to plan for your future, and you don't think all it is at that time. Now, just think about the next game, and the next training session, and the next night out with the lads. It was brilliant. It was really good, and I think from what that club was, you know, the fans were great. It was, even when I played against Chesterfield, coming to Saltergate, it was, oh no, I've got to go to Chesterfield next week. It's like, oh, you know, it's a tough place to go to, and to be on on the other side of the fence on that. It was good because under John we probably won more than we lost.
Yeah, and especially under the floodlights at Saltergate, it just seemed like it's not. It doesn't quite feel the same at the new stadium under the floodlights as it did at the old one when you're on top of the hill.
No,
and the fog's coming down, and it was
different, isn't it?
Place.
It's different. I think it's similar to the Bolton one with Burnden Park now and the Reebok, whatever they call it now. It's Burnden Park was an unbelievable ground, stadium, whatever you want to call it. It had, it held. It was held in high esteem for you think all the players, all the old players who Nat Lofthouse, what a legend he was. What a man, by the way. What a lovely man. Saltergate, all the top players, Ernie Moss, Kevin Randall, all the ones who played there. It's ironic. It's ironic that I think now you're looking at, you've got all the ground, you've got everything you want. It's Chesterfield and they're in the conference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no way in the world that it would, when we were there, even before I was there and after I was there, Chesterfield were never going to be in the conference. Do you know what I mean? So for whatever reason, we'll not go into the reasons why they are in the conference, but it's not all about having the glamour and the glitz of the shiny stadiums. It's about what's in them stadiums. It's about the people who run the football club. It's about the people who make it. And I think the fans have a massive part to play. And it's sad, really, to see where Chesterfield are. It needs someone to come in and put a lot of money into it and invest into it, and the right people to run it and get them back up that league. It's a perfect example, isn't it? Of literally, it's not about your surroundings. It's about the people inside your surroundings.
Yeah, and there's some huge clubs at that level now that have all kind of gone the similar way. It's like you look at the conference now, and a few years ago it was all those League
Two, League One might have been League One, mightn't it?
Yeah. So going back to kind of when you started at Chesterfield, you scored in your first 2 games, didn't you? I think it was a league game against Grimsby, and then in the cup, I think, as well.
In the cup, yeah.
Was it quite easy? Was it quite quick and easy to integrate into that squad, into that dressing room, and kind of hit the ground running?
I think it's a difficult question to answer, David, because I think if you're a striker and you go to another club and then you get a couple of goals early doors, it's quite, as a footballer, as a player, it's good. So people can go, oh, he's decent. If they don't already know you, obviously a lot of people knew me before I went there. So it helps if you can nick a couple of goals quick, because I got injured in the 3rd game, I think, and missed a couple of games. So, and then I think it's more as well, it's what you like as a person in the dressing room and how you're perceived in the dressing room. Because at that dressing room at the time, that was a strong dressing room. That was you had your Billy Maces and your Paul Hollands and your Tom Curtises and I think Marcus Ebden, was Marcus Ebden at the time? I think he was. I think you had your Mark Williams, all these. Darren Carr was there at the time. Andy Morris was there. So these were Chesterfield legends, and it was so to get to them they have to accept you into the dressing room because you're a Chesterfield player now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to like you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we say, it's like, how many friends do I have from playing football? It's like close friends, not many, but I'd say I got on with most of the players I played with. Not everyone, because just like everyday life, you don't get on with everybody, do you? But in the football world, in the dressing room, that's your, you do eat together, sleep together, play together. Now it's a little bit different. So yeah, you had to be. It did help if you're nicking some goals or you're playing well in the first few games, but it's the longevity of it. And I think I was welcomed into the dressing room. They were all down to it. There was no big timers there, except for Sean Dyche, but he'd left. Anyway.
and I was talking to Aaron Downs, one of the more recent players with us, and he was saying that there was like certain characters in the dressing room that were really important. Like he was talking about Paul Hall and how whenever they lost a game, he would be the guy that would be able to make a comment that wouldn't make light of a defeat, but would manage to kind of make a joke and kind of reset everyone and refocus everyone. So I'm wondering what was your kind of role in the dressing room? Did you have a role that was kind of your personality?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think before I was captain, because obviously John made me captain down the line. But I was probably known as a bit of a joker. I did like a laugh, you know. We all like to laugh, you know. Probably me more than most. Maybe at times when we shouldn't have been laughing, but that was just me. I think it was that. Yeah, I always made light heart of a situation, I suppose, rather than, you know, I don't think there was many situations where at Chesterfield, especially where it was like, you know, you come to fisticuffs with anybody, or you're you know, or you have issues. Except actually, there was one situation when me and Steve Balderwick had a little bit of a. Well, I wouldn't say it was a brawl. I'd say it was who could throw the handbags the furthest on a. Yeah, it was funny. If anyone who's there will remember that, and it was quite funny actually, because I kicked the ball and it hit him in the face. It skidded off the wet surface and hit him in the face, and it sort of squared up. And then he'd done something to me. Anyway, I think that was as far as it got. So, but he's a big softie anyway. Yeah, he wouldn't have hit me anyway. Don't worry about that. But yeah, so it was yeah. You had to make lighthearted of it most of the time, especially playing for Chesterfield with John and Kevin at the helm.
Who was there anyone that would be the person you'd always play jokes on in that dressing room? Was there someone that?
Oh, gotta be careful now. Well, yeah, Chris Perkins probably, because he had the worst gear. Probably him. Or Chrissy Beaumont. It was either Chrissy Beaumont or Perks who had the worst gear. I'm only joking, Chris. No, me and Chris used to travel in together from Sheffield, you see. When I got banned from driving at one point, just when I signed. So Chris was very, very kind. He used to drive me in every day. So yeah, so I won't say Chris. I'll say Perks. Yeah, everyone used to pick on Perks because he had the worst gear.
And then picking out a game. Quite a few fans mentioned this was the 4 goals against Cambridge. I think it was in '99. I think, and especially the 4th, which was an absolute belter. Was that something you'd like had a practice in training, or was it just have a go when it happened?
It was. You know, football. I tell you, it's weird because on the Friday, literally, me and Tommy Curtis, when I said, Tom, come here, and he went, what do you want? I said, just come here. I said, we get a free kick tomorrow at the edge of the box. I said, I'm going to take it. He went, you can't take a free kick, Reevesy. I went, no. I said, well, you're not going to score one, are you? So it was like we sorted it out to ourselves. So literally, I just said, just tap the ball to me. Just let me try something different. So he tapped it to me. I flicked it up and I hit it. And it literally went about 50 foot wide. And he went, oh, don't do that, Reevesy. And I went, and anyway, that was it, weren't it? So we got a free kick. I'd already got a hat trick. So I said, Tom, do that free kick. And he went, looked at me as if to say, are you joking, Reevesy? So then he gets, so literally like, and it could have went anywhere. And I don't know, obviously everything. I got 2 penalties that day. By the way, none of them were penalties. For the start off, the worst, if you watch that game, I literally fell over. The referee gave a penalty. The lad was nowhere near me. So then, and I scored about a yard out header from a corner. And then, so that's 3. And then, yeah, so Tom got the free kick 30 yards out, whatever it was. I say 35, but Tom says it was 30. And he tapped it to me. And I've literally, because it's all about the flick up. Because if you don't flick it up right, you don't get the shot away because they close you down. So I got the flick right, and then I volleyed it, and it literally hit the top of the crossbar and bouncing in the net. And everyone just couldn't believe it. It was, yeah, the best goal I've ever scored. So the next week after, we've got Oldham away. Tom, try it again. Yeah, okay, Reevesy. He tapped the ball to me, and I went to flick it up and miscontrolled the flick. And the defender come in there on the attack. And then half time, John Duncan, he went, hey, Reevesy, leave it now, boy, leave it. That was it. So that was it. That was the first and last one. So
Yeah.
I thought I'd put it to bed. I'll finish on the goal.
Yeah. It's a hell of,
So yeah, that was yeah.
When things like when you are hitting form and you score a hat trick or you're in good form, is being the striker must be the best position on the pitch to be if you're scoring goals like that.
Yeah, because it's it's all the lads are going to swear at me now. Yeah, it is the hardest position to play, definitely. The goalkeeper, anyone can play in goal, can't they? Come and catch it, come and kick it, save a few shots. You know what I mean? Defender, go and head it easy. Midfielder, do what you want. Wingers, you've only got to cross the ball in for the strikers, haven't you? So then the strikers have got to do. They've got to hold it. They've got to control it. They've got to score a goal. They've got to take all the battering off the centre halves. So it's quite, they've got to run back for every corner, defend that. So, no, in all seriousness, the strike, it is a tough position to play. And I think it was harder. I don't know whether it was harder when we played or harder now, because they passed the ball back that many times to each other along the back that you must be making 1,000 runs up top before you get the ball. And when we knew, when Ian Brecken had it, when Steve Baldwick had it, when Mark Williams had it, where it was going to go and when it was going to go. And so that was, it was a bit easier, as in you knew what you played to our strengths, basically. We had some really good footballers in the team all the years I was there, but we knew everyone had a job to do. We knew what that job was. Now it's like a 5-a-side game, eh? So I know it's different without the crowds, obviously because of COVID, but it's like sometimes you get that bored of watching it. Any chance of getting this ball forward at some point? That's my take on it, anyway. I want to be. I'm paying for the service if you're a football fan, and I want to be entertained. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see. You can go and see 15-year-old kids passing the ball across the back, can't you? In youth team games and whatever, and Sunday league games. You want to go and see the action happens at the last third of the pitch. That's what fans want to see and get them off the seats. But it's a toughie, and when you're a striker and when you're scoring goals, it's great. But also when you miss them, it's at the end of the scale, it's your fault because you've missed a few sitters, a few chances, but when you score, I always had a mentality of when I scored and we won, savour it because the next game will be different. You're lucky if you get 2 games the same. As I said, I was I got enough goals, but maybe could have got more. But I was happy with in the end what I did, and I think it was always, even if we'd lost the game, you're thinking, well, at least I've got a goal. Do you know what I mean? Although it wasn't great losing the game, but it's always nice to score. Yeah.
And then I wondered how close you were to going to Stoke, because didn't you nearly go to Stoke just before John?
Very close to going to Stoke. Literally when everything was agreed, was it Paul Connor was going to come the other way? Was it? A lad called Paul Connor. So he was going to come to Chesterfield, and I was going to go to Stoke. And then I went to watch the other Autoglass game. So I went, agreed the deal, had my medical on the before the game. At that time it was a thorough medical, heart scans, everything, which wasn't all nailed on at that point. You could just have a medical, just touch your toes, you're all right. You know what I mean? But it was a thorough medical. And then I remember the next day, I stayed over as well in a hotel next to the ground, ready to sign it in the morning. But Paul Connor decided he didn't want to go to Chesterfield. Don't know why. He probably went to see where we trained, maybe.
Yeah,
with all the dog poo all over the place. Maybe that's what. So I was like, I was disappointed. But then obviously ended up signing. Obviously the Darren Brown scenario came into play and ended up staying, which was great for me. Loved it.
Yeah, and then that season after, with Nicky Law then in charge, it just kind of bossed the league that year. It was Was that a fun season on the pitch?
It was an adventurous season. It was, David, a very adventurous season. Yeah, full of ups and downs, mainly ups to be fair. And then Darren was at the helm, and Nicky got the job. He came in caretaker. and then got the job. You know, we pushed for Nicky to get the job because we wanted him to get it. And yeah, we'd have, you know, if it wasn't for the points deduction taken off us, we'd have won the league. You know, but we ended up going up anyway in third place. So it was a good season for us.
And when you got to kind of halfway through the season and things started happening, did that ever kind of start to, well, obviously it didn't put you off as players because you were still winning. Did it end up kind of making you a bit stronger as a team when
yeah, because that was a really good dressing room. You know, you got, you know, Mike Pollard, Luke Beckett, Rob Edwards, Steve Payne. It was a really good squad, really good dressing room. Some talented players for that level. And it was, you know, we even had the press against us and everyone. You know, we were playing away games and like people had banners up calling us greedy, whatevers and stuff, and we're like, really, right? You know, we didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? We knew with players that we didn't do anything wrong, and it was like, you know, where's it all come from and blah blah blah, and then, you know, other stuff was coming out, and then we had a court case and before the FA. Four of us had to go, you know, speak to the FA, and it was I think it made us stronger. I think it was you know, we kept our sanity by laughing, I think, to be honest. Training hard, working hard, and just getting on with it and picking points up.
Yeah. And I don't really want to go into it too much, but I was just curious as to, with Darren Brown, whether he was, what he was like kind of around the club as a personality. He was young.
He was a big personality. He was young. He was a big personality. Obviously, we didn't know a lot about him. You know, I first met when I did my deal, because I did my own deal. I didn't have an agent. Well, actually, I actually, I tell a lie. I didn't sign with an agent at that time, but I was getting help off one because I didn't really. But that wasn't for Chesterfield. He was trying to get me somewhere else. So I did my own deal at Chesterfield, and I'm with Darren Brown, and it was I agreed mine, and I actually did Ian Brecken's deal as well. So it was like, you know, it wouldn't happen now, would it? Really? So he was a big personality. You know, it was he said we didn't know his background, we didn't know what he was about, we didn't know where he got his money from. Till later on, till obviously all the whatever hit the fan, and then, you know, it was like, wow, you know, we would never have thought, you know, what was going to happen. Then the next, you know, I seen him. Next time I seen him, I think I seen him because he got put away, didn't he? He did some time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I seen him, and it was like, obviously he was a big fella. I seen him somewhere. I can't remember where I seen him, and he was like, literally like different man. He was like that. He lost loads of weight in prison. So, but I don't know. You know, it's he did what he did. It's a weird one because he said he gave me a 4-year deal, and it was a really good deal, and some other lads good deals as well. Although when I left, and it's unprecedented, I'd say, I left and I was owed quite a lot of money from Chesterfield, and I knew the situation they were in, and I literally didn't take it. So it was, you know, it's not all about greed in the football world. You know, I had an affinity with Chesterfield and the fans, and it was a great time. And I think it was, you know, obviously that's not a great time, the Darren Brown scenario from that respect. You know, the fans wouldn't agree with that. But, you know, the players went to know, basically.
Yeah.
You know, we were just innocent parties in it all.
And then yeah, you kind of went to, you moved to Oldham, didn't you? I suppose it was a balance in the books kind of thing at the time. But then you end up coming back like a year later. So did you ever think, you must have thought that was it, end of chapter for Chesterfield? I'm guessing you didn't expect that so quickly.
Well, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't really want to leave, but there was different scenarios why I left, and I think it was Mick Wadsworth scenario. Mick Wadsworth, my old Carlisle manager, was the older manager, and it was I said, yeah, you know, they took my contract over, let's go, and I went, and it's, you know, and obviously I was looking back, you're thinking, well, really, I was owed a lot of money off Chesterfield. I shouldn't, I could have stood out for it and took it, but I didn't. And they saved a lot of money, which I'm quite proud about now, really. Not that could afford to give me it at the time, but I just went and cut my ties, and maybe that's why. And then Russ took over. Russ took over, didn't he? And then it was like I never played much. I scored 3 in my first 2 games for Oldham, and then I got an injury in my eye. I was warming up at Bury, and the ball hit me in my eyeball, literally, and I tore my retina. It was mad. It was really weird, and I was out for 3 months. Actually, I had laser surgery for 3 months on my eye, and I never really got back in. I didn't enjoy it with Ian Dowie. Ian Dowie came, and it was like get in for 7:30, swim for an hour. But it was like he was really, really, really hot on the training, which I didn't mind. But I travelled from Sheffield, and it just didn't work. And then it was an easy one because to come back to to finish off at Chesterfield, it was a no-brainer, that one.
Yeah, and then it kind of and then a few people have mentioned the hat trick against Grimsby in kind of a rather mad 4-4 game.
Yeah, it was a mad game.
That'll have been in the 2004 3-4 season, won't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember that hat trick against Grimsby? Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I think it was two. Was it two penalties again? Was it? I think.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
2 penalties and a header again. Yeah, like 2 penalties and a header. So it was a good game. We should have. We were down, weren't we? We were losing.
It was
It was a big point for us in the end. We're looking back. It was a big point for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, we stayed up in the last game of the season, didn't we?
Yeah. And did you?
That was.
I kind of only really remember. I kind of remember your kind of second spell with us more than your first spell. So did you have to adapt? Did you adapt how you played kind of over the years? Did you start playing a different role kind of in the team up front?
I don't think so. I think it was just the same. I think it was the old-fashioned centre forward striker up front with another one next to him. Obviously Glenn Hurst at that time, like that last season. You go flick it on, let him run in behind because he's quicker. Obviously your legs go a little bit, don't they, as you get older. But I thought he had a lot more to give. Even I finished at 37. I probably maybe could have gone another couple of years. Although when you're not playing, people say, "Oh, he's done now. He's done." But actually, the last game of the season against Luton, when we won 1-0, it was. I think I had a good game that day. But I was told on the Friday by Ron McFarland, the manager at the time, whether we go down or stay up, I'm going to stay. I'll be staying. So don't worry about it. You're going to have a good game tomorrow, and it'll be, there's no, because I was only on it because I got paid up off Oldham to go back to Chesterfield. I was only on a pittance. It wasn't it was irrelevant really what I was on, the money. It was he said, I want you, my Lincoln dressing room, blah blah blah. So it was like we stayed up. The first person Roy came to at the end of the game was me, hugging me, and it was brilliant. And it was that was one of me. Well, it was the last game in Chesney shirt, but it was one of my most poignant because of what we did, and every fan and that it was there that day. It was like we won the World Cup. That will live with me forever. That game, because it was my last game, and because of what was at stake. So it was a good game to play in. It wasn't a nothing game. Do you know what I mean? And it was great that we won the game and stayed in the league. And I think, I was really, really disappointed because on the Monday, like I'm first in to see Roy, and Lee Richardson at the time was assistant manager. And he said, I went in and he looked at me, I looked at his face, and I'm thinking, this is not quite right, this. He told me on the Friday that I'm in, I'm going to get another year, which would have been 8 years then. It would have been 8 years. So, God knows what could have happened then. And I think after all these years, I'm not bitter now. I was bitter, but I'm not. He said to me, listen, Reeves, it's the hardest decision I've ever had to make as a manager. He said, I can't give you another year. And you can imagine my surprise. It was like, because he told me on the Friday that I was going to get a contract. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. So hold on. I went, wait, you told me on Friday. yeah, but we're going to go down a different route now. We're going to get someone younger. So I've gone, right. And then Lee Richardson, who I played with and I was a friend with, I was literally like, I just gave them both a mouthful of abuse because of, it wasn't right what he did. If he'd have told me on the Friday I was leaving, I still would have given all me all on the Saturday. And, it was just so sour. And so the way it ended, and it was because of Roy McFarlane, the way he did it, not professional whatsoever. And he knows that. But, even the chairman, so I'll come out the room and the chairman says, I'll see you in the summer, David. Barry. And I said, well, you won't, Barry, because he's just released me. And he went, oh, that's what he never told me that. So even the chairman didn't know I was leaving. And it was, and I just, everyone said, oh, Reevesy spat his dummy out because he's been released. But it wasn't that at all.
Yeah.
It was because people who knew the true story would have known that I was told on a Friday that I was going to get another year. And that was a massive, it was a body blow to me, that to leave the club like that, in that, under that cloud. And there was only one reason why I didn't. And, the younger player who they went for was Wayne Ellison, who was older than me.
I was going to say,
who, exactly,
Bolton, wasn't it?
who happened to be Lee Richardson's mate. So there you go. And I never spoke to Rico for years because I've spoken to him a couple of times, but I just, I fell out with him because he was part of it. And everybody knew there was only one reason why David Reeves never got another year. And that was because I was a threat to Roy McFarlane's job. Simple. So if anything, if it would have been under pressure, it would have been, David Reeves gives Reeves the job. And because the fans like me, that's it. And I can say that now after all these years. But people know anyway. There's no grey area. That's exactly what happened. But that's the unpleasant part of football. That was a bitter pill to swallow. And it took me a while to get over that. I'll be honest, because I didn't want to. I couldn't say there was no farewell to the Chesterfield fans. It was like you're out, last game of the season, that's it. But to be told that you was going to be having another year, and I just do not know to this day why he would say that to me.
And especially during that weekend, which was a huge emotional roller coaster anyway. Like you said, staying up, I remember kind of putting scarves in the car windows on the way home, and it did feel like we'd won the World Cup or the Championship or something. So to go from that to a few days later must have been just a huge emotional roller coaster for you then.
Yeah, it was massive. And I've got all my managers that I played under, I had the utmost respect for, and I did with Roy because he looked after me. To be fair to him, up to that point, and he wasn't honest with me, and he didn't show any integrity, and it was like, wow, I didn't deserve that really. I think no fan would say that I deserve that. That way to finish my career at the club that I put so much work and effort into, and I loved loved being there. And I think it was it was. I'm fine now. It's not Roy's not going to be bothered now, is he? You know what I mean? But yeah, so it wasn't a very good way to finish my Chesterfield career, that I must admit.
Yeah, and with a bit more luck, you could have done 10 years and been in testimonial.
Well, yeah, that was a thought really at the time, but you can't, I didn't dwell over it. It was like it was a couple of weeks, and then it was like, well, nothing you can do about it now. It is what it is. It's you've unfortunately, I wouldn't have done that to anybody. No other manager has done that to me. So it was a tough one to take.
With throughout, because you played for Chesterfield for years, was there a strike partner that you really liked playing with? Was there someone that you just clicked with?
At Chesney, I've played with quite a lot of lads at Chesterfield. John Howard will tell you that he set the most goals up for me, but he's lying. I can only remember one he set up for me. I like playing with Frankie, John Howard, Frankie Howard. I like playing with John. He was a hard worker, runner. He put his shift in. Luke Beckett was good. Me and Luke did well. When we had a season together, season and a half, whatever it was. We both goal scorers, similar players. Harry Willis, Roger Willis. He was hard working. The game was a play with Harry. He was a good player. He got his fair share of goals. I like playing with Jay. Believe it or not, I like playing with Jason Lee. Jason Lee was a unit. I still can't believe that Jason never scored for Chesterfield. Because Jason was defenders used to be scared of him. Just really scared of him. And I think the funniest thing I can remember, and Jason won't thank me for this, the closest he ever come to score him was against Luton. And he literally, it was pouring down. Saltergate pitch was like a mud bath. It was brilliant. It was a great day for football. And we won the game. I think we won 3-1, I think. I got 2, I think. So he's like, people didn't realise how fast he was. He was so quick and strong. And he literally, he's in on goal. He's 1-on-1. He dinked it over the keeper. He's run off celebrating. The ball stuck on the line at the Kop end. So Abbott's come jogging behind him and tapped it in. And he's like, oh no. He's run away, thought he scored, but no, it was me. Yeah, I got the goal. But he was, Jason was a good striker. I'm trying to think who else. I didn't play much with Andy Morris, really.
You played with Caleb Folan a bit, didn't you?
Played with Caleb as a young lad. He was just coming through then, just before. Yeah, it was just before he kicked on. Caleb. Yeah, he had something. Definitely had something. Caleb. It was he was strong and quick, and he could nick a goal. He looked the part. I think he was always going to do something. Caleb.
Just kind of wanted to kind of talk about what you've been up to kind of since finishing football, since playing. What have you been up to since finishing playing?
Well, dare I say it? I don't like saying agent. I'm a mentor more than an agent now. Yeah, so I've got set up my own sports management company about 12 years ago now. So we look after currently about 40 players, and we look after lads and girls. So we've got about 15 girls now we look after, which is brilliant. That part of the game is improving every week, every month. It's only going to be, the more girls taking part in the game, the better. We look after a few lionesses. It's fantastic. We've got players all over, and it's an eye-opening industry, to say the least. I do things now, and I see things now that I would never see when I played. Obviously, the business side of football, I'm learning more every day. Even though I've been doing it for so long, it's satisfying. It's hard working. It's mentally draining, but it's not. I couldn't work on a building site. Couldn't do it. I do what I do, and I'm still involved in football, and I'm in a privileged position because I love it. Watching football matches and looking after players is, I wouldn't say it's an easy job, but I never thought I'd ever do it. As the thought of parents and players thinking about agents, it's just about taking money off them. It couldn't be far from the truth. There are agents out there who do that, but it's shark-affected waters. It gets a bit murky, but we have to rise above that. And then they said it's a fantastic, for being involved in football still now. I'm 53 now, so it's like I'm still involved in it. And I'm enjoying it every day. It's something different every day. Helping young players. Obviously, it's a business we run. You can't get away from that. But helping young players try and pursue their dream of playing football. I'm in a privileged position. It's fantastic.
And how much bigger are contracts nowadays? Because I'm guessing when you started there were maybe 1 or 2 pages, and now they're probably a lot longer. Well,
it's that respect that's changed, David, hasn't it? When I sat in for Chef Wednesday, bearing in mind they were top 6 in the country, and basically in the old League One Premier League as it was, and I was on. I know I wasn't in the first team, but I was on £75 a week, and it was like, Jesus, wow, what am I going to do with that? From the Bolton days and Chesterfield days where did my dad and Browns, where I got a really good deal at the time. It's like now it's the money side of it. It's got ridiculous. When you get to that top level, you could probably have 3 good years in the Championship now, and you'll be set for life. You know, never mind the Premiership. In the lower leagues, it's still, you know, you can earn a good living. You can earn a good living. And so it's more of a business now than it's ever been, and it'll continue to. Football will continue to be a business. You know, let's not get away from that. You know, it's an entertainment business, but it's a business at the end of the day.
And finally, I just wanted to just finish on kind of your relationship with the fans, because you are, like I said at the start, you're the person that's been most requested that I talked to since I've started this. So I'm wondering what makes a really good relationship with a fan base, do you think, from a player's perspective?
How many fans is asking me? 5? About 5?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
I think, like I said at the start, I think if you work hard and it looks and the fans see you giving your all, and sometimes it will come off, sometimes it won't, I think they'll appreciate that. I think they pay the hard-earned money, especially this day and age as well. You look at what we're going through as a nation, I think, and every other nation. You know, football is a release. People go to work to pay for the season tickets and to travel all over the country. You know, like I remember when we played Millwall years ago and away at the old Den, and remember how bad it was then. I think we had about 20 fans in the top level at above, and literally I scored, and I've run in. And the fans were trying to get over the top, our Chelsea fans, because they were that like happy and overjoyed that they celebrated the goal at the Den. You know, all that money they paid to get down there, and the travel and whatever, and the tickets to get in, it's all worth it. And you know, we drew 1-1 that day, and we you know, likes of that, just example of that performance. All the lads worked socks off. We got a great point, and you know, they were out singing the Millwall fans in the end. You know, it's that, and they see it, and I think if you know, that it's different now, because this day and age, do you have to work as hard? You don't have to work as hard as a footballer now on the pitch, because it's all about different things. It's all about playing through the lines and you know, who's a good defender on the ball. You know, Mark Williams would lose 20 balls a game now if he played. The amount of balls he kicks out of the stand, and Steve Blatherwick, by the way. So, you know, so it's like, you know, it's all changed. But I think from the fans' point of view, as long as they see you working hard and you're giving your all, and they've paid their good money to see that, because at the end of the day, they're paying for a service. And if they see that week in, week out, then they'll appreciate it. And I think that's why the fans took to me at clubs where I've been, especially at Chesterfield, because they see it. And it's great for me, because the more what's the word I'm looking for? When you see the warmth the fans are giving you, it gives you passion, and it gives you more energy to go and do more running around, and keeps you going. So it's a two-way. I always say, all the good clubs, it's a two-way relationship. If you want to get to where you want to get to, fans have got to buy into it, and the players have got to buy into it. And then it's like you say, it's a match made in heaven, in it. And I think if you don't know, it doesn't always happen, because you can miss an open goal, and all of a sudden, you crap Reeves. Do you know what I mean? Which happened quite a lot, by the way. But anyway, it's another story. So, but yeah, I think it's that side of it. If they see that you're giving everything and a little bit more, then they're going to warm to you, aren't they?
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for your many years at the club, and yeah, you were probably one of the first. Yeah, you were probably the first player that I kind of chanted a chant to.
I feel good now, David. Yeah.
You know, when you first start going to football and you go to the Cop into the Cop this time with like your mates, I think Reevesy was like the first chant that
the first chant. Yeah, I know there wasn't many chants. I'm trying to think of the chants when I was there. Yeah, it was. You see, I always said to someone years ago, they said, how come they shouted your name, Reevesy, and you've missed a sitter? And I've gone, well, because they must have seen something they liked. And then someone said, I don't know whether it was Paul Holland, he went, yeah, but because Reeves is the only thing that he can sing. he said Reeves is it's an easy song, isn't it? Reeves, you haven't got to do much, have they? You know what I mean?
It's very true.
You know what I mean? So maybe that might be it, because it's an easy one to sing. I don't know.